and I'm looking to learn from the mistakes because, you know, uh, because that's where the next work probably will come
Where you'll
from.
find it. Hmm. So let's look at this painting now. Um,
This is where I took the stripe paintings and it's called Wreath. I combined them with images. And again, like I was saying, this really has to do with what's behind the painting, which is kind of those, like those balls of light in a way. Uh, like those kind of lights up there.
Now,
Like
in
almost like that becomes a stage presence where there's a screen, a, a protagonist that I'm so bad with that. Vertical,
what with
diagonal. Sorry,
look at the diagonal, the red
diagonal.
diagonal. Hmm.
I still don't. I still always have to figure out what the difference between horizontal and vertical is, and right and left.
You're dyslexic.
No,
No?
I forget.
So I want to ask you though, in titling this wreath now, were you starting to think about memorial, which obviously is a very prominent theme in your work at this point then, by calling it wreath?
Yeah, that seems, I guess, kind of self-evident,
Yeah.
but it's just something I've always thought about.
Mhm.
It's almost like that has to do with, uh, you know, two things. The search for meaning in your life is always a little bit. You always have to do it in reverse. You have to imagine that you've lived your life and you're looking back and you've been able to do what you've wanted to do. So there's always a kind of like when I was saying, when I grew up in that community, I just always felt, I don't know, maybe it had to do with like, you don't know what these things have to do with. There was always a kind of, from the beginning, a kind of a refuge, like I said. But that refuge was a way for me to deal with like a kind of a melancholy.
Mhm.
So there's always been a commemorative aspect to my work, whatever it is. Whether it's like, I think Freud said the passage of experience, the passage of events from experience to memory always constitutes a loss. And that always kind of like struck me because whether it's an idea or something that you wish you could hold on to, the transience of life, I think is something that everybody is so aware of. You can't, it works both ways. Just don't, if you're sad, the sadness will pass, and if you want to hold on to your happiness, that will pass too. Like moments that
Cyclical.
you feel wonderful
It-
will end.
it all-
Moments that
every-
you grieve will eventually heal. And
Everything
so,
goes in cycles.
yeah. So I mean, it's just that idea. I think is a very compelling kind of idea in terms of what it means to express yourself as an artist.
Mhm.
So
Let's
it's
look
the
at
transience.
the next one.
The kind of
So this one is, I can't read it.
cage.
Cage. Were you influenced at all by Robert Motherwell's Spanish Prison?
No.
No. Has an interesting relationship with that painting, though.
Maybe I'd have to
Yeah.
look at him again.
Yeah. But so tell us a little bit about your process, how you get to the sort of finished image. How did you get that configuration? How did you arrive at that?
This in general or this in particular?
This in particular, which will maybe tell us more about in general. Or in general is fine, but just a sense of how it all comes together.
Well, it's like I just was, I usually start out with very small paintings and like sketches and things in my notebook, and I kind of develop the idea, and I do a lot of very little paintings, studies, and I basically just see what I think will work out.
And is it a sort of a visual, it's the visual part of it? I mean, the composition feels resolved. Is that when you know it's done?
You mean on the big painting or the little paintings?
Well, either.
Well, no, because the
I'm
little
trying to get a
paintings,
sense of your
nothing is
process.
ever resolved. The point is they don't have to be resolved.
But the big ones,
But
like this one,
But
for
after
example.
a while, I make a choice, and I think, what could be the most effective? What could I get rid of? What could I narrow this down to distill all these ideas into a painting? And these paintings, I think it just started out with the idea of being trapped behind that mesh of all these ideas. Always like you want to do this and you want to do that, and I thought I should deal with that. That idea, wiping things out, crossing things out. Like using that image of a stripe, so that I can both open things up and cross things out. It's not like I ever cared about stripes, or I don't. I never think of myself as a kind of a painter. Like this kind, or representational, or an abstract. Although I actually do think my most abstract paintings are actually my most realistic paintings. So things, just become a kind of events that you just have to, I guess, try to be open to reflect what I think an artist really does, which is make the experience of being alive, both for yourself and for other people, relevant. Like to try to describe what it means to be living here at this time now. And you use all the tropes of history to do that, and of imagery, and of culture, and of personal iconography that you develop over the years, so that you have this kind of this reservoir of information which you don't have at the beginning. So you have to go somewhere to find it. I'm also not that interested in popular culture, in a sense. I actually